My name is Taylor. I'm 32. 3 years ago I walked away from my family, no calls, no holidays, nothing. I told myself distance would hurt less than feeling invisible. But this Thanksgiving I returned. I assumed success, money, and stability would finally win me respect at that table. I was wrong. The moment my mother spoke, I realized nothing had changed. And when I finally answered, the words I said set everything on fire. That night destroyed every belief I had about family. Being the youngest of 4 didn't mean being treasured. It meant being the extra, the afterthought. My mother, Martha, had her favorites and never hid it. Sandra, the oldest, was the golden child, married young, 3 kids, living nearby. To Mom, Sandra was the ideal woman, devoted, dependable, always there. Beverly, the middle sister, became a nurse. Mom boasted nonstop about her long shifts, her patience, the groceries she bought for the household, a kind of service Mom wore like armor. And Ronald, the only son, the supposed prince, dropped out of college and was practical. He moved back home, made the smart financial choices. When he married, Mom threw the backyard wedding of the century. His mistakes turned into family legend. My missteps were proof I didn't belong. Then there was me, Taylor the dreamer. I wanted more than our small Ohio town could offer: marketing, campaigns, something bigger than myself. Mom would purse her lips whenever I talked. That's nice, honey, but don't forget what really matters. Family. Every milestone I hit was undercut. College diploma? Where are you going to give me grandchildren? First job? Too far from home. Promotion? Money isn't everything. Nothing I accomplished matched what she valued. When I told them I was moving to Chicago, silence filled the table. Sandra labeled me selfish. Beverly suggested there were jobs closer. Mom hugged me goodbye like she was already mourning a daughter she refused to understand. Only Ronald grinned. In Chicago I tried to keep the ties. Sunday phone calls about my tiny apartment and early projects quickly shifted back to Sandra's kids, Beverly's long shifts, Ronald's job. When Mom finally asked about me, it felt polite, not curious. The calls shrank, weekly to monthly, then only birthdays, until one day I realized it had been 6 months since I'd spoken to my mother. And she hadn't noticed. It hurt too much to sit at that table and be unseen. So I stopped going. No more holidays. No more pretending. Even far away, their voices followed me, constant reminders that I was always too much or never enough. But distance doesn't kill the hunger for love and approval. Chicago was lonely at first, so I threw myself into work. Promotions came fast. Within 3 years I was marketing director at a Fortune 500, earning a 6-figure salary, leading a team of 15 in campaigns that hit the headlines. On paper, I was everything my family said I wasn't: successful, stable, important. So when Mom called that November, her voice softer than I remembered, something stirred. She said Sandra's kids had asked about their aunt. She told me it would mean the world to her if we could all be together again. For the first time in so long, I let myself believe I might finally belong. I went all in: first-class ticket, rented a sleek black BMW, bought a new outfit, got my hair styled sharp, and packed gifts. An iPad for Mom, a gaming console for Sandra's kids, a spa package for Beverly, new kitchen gear for Ronald and Peggy. I swore to myself it wasn't about flaunting success. It was proof I cared. The night before flying out, I called my best friend, Louise. "Taylor, success doesn't change how people see you overnight," she cautioned. I brushed her off. They'll have to respect me now. But even as I said it, doubt curled in the back of my mind. The driveway looked smaller than I remembered, the house older, yet my chest pounded with anticipation. Mom wrapped me in a hug at the door. "You look professional," she said. I forced a smile. Sandra greeted me with chaos, 3 kids yelling, toys scattered everywhere. Her hug was quick, distracted. "Kids, say hi to Aunt Taylor." They mumbled hellos before running off again. Beverly showed up in scrubs. She smiled, but her words had an edge. First-class flight, huh? Pretty fancy. At least Ronald was warm. Good to see you, he said proudly, introducing me to Peggy. She's the one who made it big in Chicago. For a moment, relief washed over me. Someone was proud. The gifts landed unevenly. Sandra said it was too much. Beverly muttered she didn't have time for a spa. Mom stared at the iPad like it didn't belong in her hands. Only Ronald's gratitude felt genuine. Later, when Beverly set the table, I noticed something. 7 chairs, but there are 8 of us, I remarked lightly. She shrugged. The kids are in the living room. Just grab the kitchen stool. The stool? The little one from when we were kids. Barely high enough to reach the table. My throat tightened, heat creeping up my neck. Careless, or intentional, it didn't matter. The message landed. Sure, the stool works, I said with a smile that wasn't real. Everyone else settled in while I perched lower, slightly apart from the circle. Conversation flowed easily, Sandra's PTA updates, Beverly's patients, Ronald's projects. Mom's eyes shone with pride at all their stories. I waited for someone to ask about me. No one did. And so, there I was, on the smallest chair in the kitchen. Dinner unfolded in a rhythm I knew by heart. Sandra's kids giggled in the other room. Beverly scrolled on her phone. Mom watched it all quietly. I sat lower than everyone, close enough to hear, too far to belong. Their chatter skipped right over me, PTA schedules, a patient who pulled through, Ronald's latest project. Mom praised each of them like they were trophies. I waited for a chance to speak. So, I have some news, I said at last. Polite silence followed. My team just wrapped a campaign that created 200 new manufacturing jobs in Ohio and Michigan. That's nice, Beverly said flatly. Money isn't everything, Mom added. Sandra nodded. Some people forget what really matters. Heat burned up my neck. This isn't about money, I said firmly. It's about helping families. Sandra's smile thinned. There's a big difference between caring about people and caring about profit. Something cracked inside me. Maybe it was time to tell them the truth, that I'd been paying for this seat at the table all along. Since we're talking about caring, I said softly. I've been covering Mom's bills for 2 years. Chairs scraped. Forks froze. Mom blinked. What are you talking about? The electric, the internet, the groceries, I said. And the rent? Beverly frowned. Rent? Mom owns this house. No, I said, she hasn't for 2 years. The surgery hit, the invoices piled up, and she had to sell. She's been renting it back. When she fell behind, she called me. Sandra looked at Mom. Is this true? Mom stared at the table. It wasn't supposed to be forever. I didn't do it for favors, I said. I did it to keep the lights on. Ronald's voice was small. My car insurance. Was that you? I nodded. Rent $1,200, utilities and groceries on top. Ronald $150. Sandra went pale. That's more than any of us could cover. This is why I left, I said quietly. To build something strong enough to hold the people I love. Mom lifted her head, eyes flashing with anger and shame. How dare you bring this up at dinner, she said. We are not a charity case. We were fine before you came back waving your money around. I laughed once. You are not fine. You called me crying, her jaw clenched. I asked my daughter, not a banker. And you got both, I said. Silence fell over the room. A cartoon giggled down the hall. Mom stood, palms flat on the table. Her voice went low, cold, exact. You think money buys you love? You think it buys respect? She leaned toward me. You don't deserve a seat at this table. I stood. The stool scraped the tile and every head turned. You say I don't deserve a seat, I said. Fine. I pulled out my phone and opened a familiar contact. Mom's chin lifted. Taylor, don't you dare make a scene. This isn't a scene, I said. It's a boundary. A ring. Banking services. How may I help you? Hi, this is Taylor Morrison. I need to cancel several automatic payments. Sandra shoved her chair back. Taylor, stop. We can talk this out. We've been talking for years, I said. You weren't listening. Which payments? The rep asked. Rent to Morrison Property Management $1,200. Effective today. Mom's knuckles whitened. You can't do this. You told me you didn't need my money, I said. Prove it. Next. Electric, Ohio Edison $300, Internet $80, grocery allowance to Martha Morrison $400. Beverly reached for my phone. I pulled back. Don't. I said you wanted honesty. This is honesty. Ronald's voice was small. My insurance, $150. I said into the phone. Cancel that too. The cartoon in the living room kept laughing. No one else did. Sandra whispered. This is cruel. No, I said, quiet was cruel. The stool was cruel. Pretending my work didn't matter was cruel. This is clarity. I looked at my mother, the woman who taught me coupons and receipts, who refused help until the roof leaked. I didn't want to shame you, I said. I wanted to keep you safe. Her eyes filled, then turned hard. The rep came back. All payments canceled, Miss Morrison. Confirmations will follow. Thank you, I said, ending the call. I slid the phone into my purse. No more checks, no more quiet deposits, I said. No more buying my way into a chair you never planned to set. Mom stood. You're punishing us because your feelings got hurt. My feelings? I said. I kept this house warm. Kept the fridge full. Kept Ronald on the road. Peggy asked, so what now? The same thing I did in Chicago, I replied. We make a plan. We share the responsibility. I told them I'd be heading to my hotel tomorrow, then flying back to Chicago. Beverly brushed away her tears. Taylor, wait, she started. I already waited 3 years, I said firmly. I'm done waiting. At the doorway, I paused, my eyes lingering on the table, 7 chairs and that lone stool. For what it's worth, I added more gently, I never wanted to be your banker. I just wanted to be your daughter. I thought that was the end of it, but 2 days later I learned otherwise. Mom called. I went to the bank, she whispered. I saw the numbers. I didn't realize. We tried splitting the bills, she added. Even with everyone pitching in, it's still too much. She admitted she had been proud of the wrong things, angry at the wrong things. That night, we finally spoke about the surgery she kept hidden, the house she sold, and the shame that turned asking for help into secrecy. I told her about those nights in Chicago when I worked until the city went silent, yet still felt like that same girl sitting on the kitchen stool. I'm sorry, she said, not for the money, but for making you earn a kind of love that should have been yours all along. If we start again, I told her, it has to be honest. A week later, we held a family video call. Cameras on, bills laid out on the table. Sandra admitted her jealousy. Beverly confessed she had belittled my career to justify her own decisions. Ronald promised to handle his insurance and contribute monthly. We built a plan. No hidden accounts. No secret transfers. If I gave support, it would be open, limited, and agreed upon. Respect wasn't a prize to earn, it was the standard. 6 months later, I came home for Sandra's birthday. 8 places were set. The stool was gone, replaced by a real chair. Mom touched it and said, it's yours, if you want it. I sat down, level with the rest. No questions about my paycheck, no probing about my title. They just asked about me. Family isn't something you purchase, or a debt to settle. It's a table you choose, and one you refuse to crawl beneath, hoping for scraps. If you're standing in the doorway, wondering whether to step back in, hear this. Love without boundaries becomes permission for harm. Generosity without respect turns into a leash. Choosing yourself is not betrayal, it's the beginning. I don't write silent checks anymore. I don't beg for a seat. When I sit now, it's because I chose the table, and they chose me too.